A musical mystery dating back hundreds of years to the time of the Medicis is finally being solved, one hand-inscribed note at a time. Here's Seth Doane, our man in Italy.
Florence is a monument to the Renaissance, showcasing at every turn the art and architecture from that period, which continue to impress and inspire. It's clear what the Italian Renaissance looked like. But in the soaring Santa Maria Novella Basilica, we got the rare chance to hear how it sounded. So we're hearing for the first time this music in how many years?
400 plus years.
Wow. Mark Sparopoulos is director of music in the Medici. He's chief dreamer in this effort to unearth the until now unknown sacred music of this family, who ruled this part of Italy 500 years ago.
If you look at the artists that are produced at this time, it's a roll call of the greatest artists in Western history. Leonardo da Vinci, Botticelli, Michelangelo, Raffaello. The list just goes on and on of these incredible names. Really, they had no idea about music? That, to me, seems impossible.
What's the answer?
Well, that's what we're working out.
His journey to work that out started back when he was singing at the Vatican as part of the so-called Pope's Choir.
We say, consider something beyond this world, beyond the everyday.
That's where we first met this British baritone in 2018, inside the spectacular Sistine Chapel.
When I was singing in the Sistine Chapel and we were uncovering music from the Vatican archives, this made me think about archives and the potential for archives in other parts of Italy.
Mark Sparopoulos came to me and says, well, where is the music?
It was actually a reasonable question to pose to Alessio Asunides, a scholar and the director of the Medici Archive Project in Florence.
What the archive is one long story.
Which is funded mostly by Americans.
A story made up of millions and millions of narratives of a family that had an impact like no other family. This is a letter written from Rome on 4th of November, 1503.
They're working to make accessible the more than 3 million letters and other documents which belonged to this powerful family, who were patrons of the arts and pretty much everything.
Where do we see evidence of the Medici?
In this piazza, everywhere. Here you have the statue of Cosimo I,
A Medici.
a Medici. Over there you have the bust of Francesco, Grand Duke Francesco,
Another
a Medici.
Medici.
Asunides says the music may have simply fallen out of fashion, and now in the archive they're uncovering a new monument in Florence.
Here is the sender, Cardinalis de' Medici. A lot of artists, a lot of musicians, but also a lot of cooks and cobblers and all sorts of people write to the Duke saying, here is what I've done, usually in the case of music, here is my mass or my motets, can you finance them?
Some very major...
The job of finding these manuscripts falls to musicologist Giordano Mastrocola. He usually scours Florence's vast state archives, but with COVID restricting access, we met at the Santa Maria Novella Library.
Wow, this is quite a book. Half the job is just carrying it.
This massive music book from the late 1200s predates the Medici.
It's beautiful.
But in his search, sometimes it's a random find that's most intriguing.
You're looking to see if someone's
Yes,
stuck
yes,
something inside the book?
Yes, exactly. And sometimes they could insert some new music at the end of the book.
Giordano will take a digital picture of that, sends those to me, and I get them here.
Then, note by note, Sparopoulos transcribes the music, which was written down in separate parts.
When we print modern music, they're stacked on top of each other, soprano, alto, tenor, bass. But at this time, they would write out each part individually. Alto's part, second tenor, and a bass part here. So that's a bit like having a play with all the words of one character written out completely, and then the next character, and all the things that they say written out completely.
But as he places the notes of the various parts onto modern sheet music, the piece starts to emerge.
You really get the sense of what the composer is doing. O adoranda Trinitas. And I can start to hear back how this music works.
When there's enough to try out, he practices the individual part with singers. It's music that's quite different from what we're used to hearing today.
Any pop song has the tune that everyone sings along. You know, we all know the tune. And then underneath is the music that supports the tune. This music doesn't work like that. Here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 10 melodic lines, essentially different songs which are put together like this.
We got a chance to hear that at this special rehearsal he set up to test the songs.
There's a process to this. It changes from what you've seen on the paper or heard on the computer.
Absolutely. It's like looking at a picture in black and white and then seeing it in color for the first time.
And for the first time, likely in hundreds of years, those notes, just ink marks recovered from an old book, were brought to life again.
Ultimately, the goal is to find, publish, perform, and record this music. It's not enough that we just create new books of it. Music has to be heard. My real ambition is that we might find amongst all of this something close to a masterpiece.